How many of the sheets? Yeah, we have sheets. Imana Gurmati Sara
We're using a chant a little Maha mantra. We're going to chant a little Maha mantra kirtan. You want some cartels? Yeah, cartels.
Sadi Gaura Jnananjana Shalakaya Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karuణাavతారం. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Savadro Gauradaye Pushpanto Chitto Sandho Amonudo. Vandeham Shri Ramakrishna Araya Charanasavo Sukaro Bhagavanando Sundaro Suvagriya. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namaste Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Jai. Very close tonight. Yes. Meeting to get as close as possible. Don't break their personal bond. You have to be careful. It's like the fire. You can't get too close. You can't escape before the heat. So, when we're going to continue our conversation in gurus of Gogama, Sunday gurus or other gurus, set an example in this regard. A number of gurus, different types of gurus, and as we did yesterday, we will do again today. Tomorrow we left the sacred briefly into Krishna Lila. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's second guru. After there, we turn back. So we left off Krishna Lila yesterday with Krishna receiving Upanayana, the sacred thread from Gayatri, appropriate. The Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Brahmins, being Vaishya. We received this from Garuni, Karvacharya, in Mathura, who was his ostensibly, as we were explaining, his Nam Guru. Of course, both these initiations, if you will, samskars, ceremonies, rituals, transmissions, were in the context of the Varnashram, but we are drawing implications from that. With regard to the Vaishnav Dharma, Vaishnav Diksha Harinam, Vaishnav Mantra Diksha, that's, of course, the Diksha of Harinam, that's sometimes a question amongst some devotees. Nam is said to be independent of Diksha. So then some say it's this not required. Diksha is for mantra, not for nam. Of course, the mantra is made up of the noms. Govindaya, Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopita. There they come in the dative case. But yes, Krishna is non-different from his name. Krishna is independent of Diksha, which is given by the Guru. He gives himself to the Guru. This is his own system, but he doesn't have to. So when we say, as Chaitanya Charitamrita itself says, that Nam, Krishna Nam is independent of Diksha, we have to follow that by saying, nonetheless, this is how Jesus Swami has more or less explained this in Bhakti Samdharma. More or less, or nonetheless, Krishna's system is that he gives himself in the form of his name through the Tripurari. And we also know from the Purana that disregard for the guru, which would mean in this case to, well, I don't need a guru because his name is independent, so disregard for the principle of guru is an aparad. Aparad means arada means to worship. Aparad means to go against worship. I've seen some contemporary circles of today, young people like Vaishnavas influenced by modern culture don't like the idea of aparad, offense. Who's this God who takes offenses? What kind of God is that? God who take offenses at some things that we do in ignorance and so forth. But the root of the word, as I'm explaining, is that it's those acts that are contrary to worship, that go against worship. So they have, as much as those acts that constitute worship of the Godhead are fruitful in terms of growth of our, in terms of our spiritual progress and trajectory. If we go against worship, do things, it will be counterproductive. It's very practical, right? He's not mean. It's just that we go against worship, well, we're not going to get the fruits of worship, and arguably we get a reaction. So this is one of the fences to the name, if you will. So therefore, yes, the name is independent of Diksha, which is transmission from Sri Guru. But if we avoid it, the Guru, principle altogether, then we go against the worship. So this is Nam Aparad. And then if we're offending the name, then the name will not be inclined to reveal everything about himself. His Nam, his Guna, Rupa, his Leela, his Parikars. All this is in the name. What's in the name, right? So much is there. Right? Did you get his name? Mommy, somebody called. Did you get his name? Track him down, right? Or did you get his number, his social security number, take his full bank account, everything. So the importance of name, Nam, cannot be underestimated. And we should chant the holy name with the blessings of Sri Guru. So this is fundamental to Gaudiya Vaishnavas. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed this himself when he took exception to his mother, Sachi Devi's disposition towards Advaita, who by his influence of his preaching had caused her son, the elder brother, Tripurari, Chaitanya Vishwambhara, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to go leave the world, take sannyas. So she was not so pleased with Advaita and concerned that the same thing might happen to her Nimai or Vishwambhara, took exception. And that's a little different, I guess, but it's one of her offenses, if you will. Mahaprabhu called out, set an example. But also it is said that, this is more what I was thinking, forgive me, that he would not take milk from the breast of Sachi until she was initiated by Advaita. Then he would take. So some examples of that emphasize the point. Aside from the principle, explained the importance of receiving the name of the Guru. So at any rate, Gargamuni gave Krishna the name Krishna, and they gave him the mantra-diksha and so forth. And after that, in Mathura, Krishna, and this is peculiar, he took a vow of celibacy. But this time he actually followed it. Because in Braj Leela, of course, he claims to be a brahmachari. He's always wearing saffron colored cloth. It's indicative of his brahmachariness. And he's often calling on his brahmacharya in the context of his romantic leelas. In the love play, in the kind of romantic comedy that the Braj Leela is more or less constituted of. If underage children have fallen in love with this kind of humorous. And of course, the Hasirasa comic mellow is very prominent in the Braj Leela. So his brahmacharya, in one sense, is as far as, of course, in Gopal Tapa Upanishad, when the gopis, they were told to cross the Jamuna. Krishna said after a night in the forest with the gopis, Krishna claimed to. They asked Krishna a question. What was the question? They asked him a question.
Durvas? Asked them? Or they told Durvas?
I'm trying to think of the reason why they went to see Durvas. They went to Krishna. Krishna claimed to be a brahmachari, something like that. So that
They were preparing food for him.
They were preparing sweet rice.
There was something about Durvasa Muni was going to cross the river, but the water was high or something, and he said, "How should I cross the river?" And he said, "Say that I haven't eaten."
Well, I think Krishna Krishna told them they should go offer sweet rice to Durvasa Muni. It's the other side of the Jumuna. And they said, "How can we cross the Jumuna?" He said, "Just say Krishna's a brahmachari, and the waters will part." And they said, "What? You're a brahmachari?" We just spent the night in the forest. But Krishna is extremely, extremely charming. Extremely. You have to think just how charming he is, that the gopis and Radhika in particular are completely captivated by him. We don't hear so much about the details of the nature and instances of expressions of the love of Radha, but we hear it over and over again about the nature of Krishna and his charm, and so on and so forth. And the best of the devotees are the highest of the devotees are completely charmed by him. So we'll do it. Krishna's a brahmachari, and of course the water's parted. They went to the other side, go with the sweet rice to do us, and then they asked. How to get back, isn't it, or something like that? And by the way, how can we understand this statement that Krishna's a brahmachari? He said, "Just tell them Durvas never eats anything, and then you'll be able to cross the waters apart." And he just ate the sweet rice. So there was some connection between these two. And the Upanishad, Gopal Tapani, is the Upanishad, which the Gopal mantra, which is the principal diksha mantra of our sampradaya, is revealed there, right? And so, of course, the idea here is that there is inaction and inaction, something like that. There's a way to be in the world, but not of the world. If you take the heart of what the world is about out, your conduct, your actions may appear worldly, but they may be entirely different, otherworldly, for that matter. If you take the self-centeredness out of any activity, the activity itself isn't the problem. It's the self-centeredness that drives it. You could have a different motivation for the same action, right? So Krishna's love of the gopi, Gopi's love for Krishna is devoid of any personal self-interest. But it has the same appearance as love that is full of and centered on and driven by self-interest. It's like they look similar, but Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says they're as different as day and night. Krishnendriya, Kamendriya Priti, Vancha, Kamendriya Priti, Kam is Kamendriya Priti Vancha, the desire for Kamendriya, so desire for the satisfaction of one's senses. This, of course, is what forms our material identity. We have attachment in terms of our senses in relation to sense objects. Each of us differently, and our personalities formed out of that. Our my forms our I. Of course, nothing is ours. So the I that arises out of that is very vacuous, empty, and here today and gone tonight. It's possible. Right? That I. That I is that I am this or I am that. But there's a deeper I. It never goes away. And it's I am. I may think I'm this, I may think I'm that. That will change. But I am does not change. And that I am is much, much bigger than I am this or that. However big this or that appears to be up to the role of Brahma. But of course, not only am I, or I am, or we are. This is only the beginning teaching of the Upanishads, of the secret texts of the East, the revelation, the secret. The Upanishad, which means come, Upanishad, and sit close. Implication of which is, I can tell you, is something that the common people won't be interested in. It's about the Atma, the self, its likeness to God. If there's anything in the world that resembles God most, it's us. The spark. He is the fire from which we emanate, right? But this is a lot to digest in itself. Right? But so big is the idea of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Well, so many Buddha, Shankar, and so many others were just stopped at I am, or I am not this or that. Yes, the Buddha could say, I'm not this or that. And Shankar would say, I am. The kind of positiveness of zero in relation to negative numbers, it's immense. The zero is huge. Right? It's staggering. And so philosophically speaking, and to put that into practice is consuming. And what questions does it leave? Right? What more could there be to ask about? You are not the world or anything of the world. You are. It is not in any enduring sense. Goodness, this is a lot to digest and difficult to refute. And practically, if we hear about it, we can begin to see it. But so what other questions are there? But Mahaprabhu asked questions from the analogy, numerical analogy. He said, well, are there any positive numbers? No. Shankar would faint at such a thought. Buddha would say, oh, too much. This is the Buddha's strategy. The Buddha's strategy was, don't ask that question. Just focus on the problem. You got a problem, you're suffering. Just focus on that. My strategy and my approach to that will end that. And the idea behind it, of course, having ended that, and naturally in a position to understand something more, it is their God. They don't ask about that. It's thought in some schools of Buddhism that this was this apparent atheism or denial of the supernatural apparent on the part of the Buddha was only a pragmatic strategy rather than actually a doctrine. In other words, don't worry about that now, just worry about this. You're suffering, do this. Suffering comes from attachment, as Krishna says in the Gita. What does he say? That, no, he says that suffering is born from the womb. Well, yeah. From the yoni, the womb of attachment comes dukkha, comes suffering. And this is the sum and substance of the Buddha's teaching, one verse from the Gita. There's more to be said, but that's allowed. Right? It's very practical. You're attached to something, but you can't keep it. That's the problem, right? It's a problem waiting to happen. Your happiness, which is based on acquisition, is suffering waiting to happen in progress. Right? You have to look at your happiness, derived from having a false sense of having, is only the beginning of suffering. You start to look at it like that. Well, this is how that would change your life. Right? But again, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking, are there any positive numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 108. And it takes us to not only I'm not this or that, and in a kind of a negative positivity, I am, to I am a gopa. I am a gopi. What is a gopa? What is a gopi? You can paint a picture, you can tell a story. What is the philosophy, the theology underlying all of this? It's important to get some grounding in that, right? In that tattva. These are feelings that are not rooted in material existence, not rooted in mind stuff. So detachment is important in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but it's not the way of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It's a result. We talk about this now. We come to this as importantly a context of discussion because, well, Krishna decided to become a brahmachari, right? What's the implication? Now he wanted to learn from a famous guru named Sandipani Muni in Avantipur. So he and Balaram took vows of brahmacharya and he entered the school, the Gurukul of Sandipani Muni. This is the student life, the brahmacharya life of Krishna. There in the school, he learned all the arts, 64 arts, and he and Ram both. And in one's hearing it, they learned it, and so forth. They were the prize students, but they went incognito to the school of Sandipani Muni. They explained to their parents, Vasudeva and Devaki, their desire, and they took their vow of brahmacharya for the as would be the system for the time during the student years and so forth. And then because the metropolitan area of Mathura was so overjoyed to have them, having been freed as a result of their coming there from Kamsa's evil reign and so forth, and just their presence and so forth being what it was, they wanted to kind of slip out in the night, and disappear. So they dressed themselves in saffron cloth like beggars, like were students. They were previously they were wearing the king's apparel that they had taken on the way to the rest of the marina when the tailor of Krishna had passed them by. So these are the clothes of the king. Get your hands on for that. Don't even look at that. Of course, Krishna took the clothes, adorned himself, and he took other attire and dressed his friends up and so forth. We accompanied him to Mathura. So he changed his attire, went incognito, and I mean, there were stories. By now, the word had come to Krishna, Balaram, the police boys from the pastoral bucolic area had come to metropolitan Mathura and defeated Kamsa. And this news is rippling throughout the subcontinent. And so incognito, they came to the school of Lantipur, of Sandipani Muni. Of course, he was very charmed by them, as were the other students there as well. But who exactly they were wasn't entirely clear. But it came out, of course, to Sandipani Muni to a large extent when he saw the extent to what kind of students they were. They were the best of students that the teacher could imagine. We often hear, or we often are asked, or the question often arises, I should say, what are the qualifications of a guru, right? But it's very seldom asked, what are the qualifications of a disciple? There are many failings in terms of guru institution. How many failings are there in terms of the students? Right? With some forgiveness, we should go forward. That's just bhakti is very, very generous. We see this in the school also. We'll get to that here. Go forward, but there they were, the students, and excellent students, and very charming to Sandipani Muni, who was a Shaivite. Krishna chose to go to the Shaivite Sandipani Muni for his Gurukul rather than to a famous Vaishnav like Vyas or Nard, something like that, because none of them would accept him. They would recognize him. It's not going to be my student. You're my God. The Shaivites are worshiping, of course, rather than Krishna. Mahadev, Shiva, who's the transformation of Krishna. And so this is his strategy. There in the school, one of the points I alluded to earlier on the raise about the nature of bhakti is that here's Krishna, he's in Ram, following a vow, brahmacharya, and living in the Gurukul like every other boy, no difference, they want no special treatment, anything of the sort, right? And Krishna took a liking to one Brahmin boy named Sudama. And Jiva Swami explains that Krishna took a liking to Sudama, the Brahmin. Why? Because he has a friend in Braj named Sudama. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Bhakti is not about what you know. It's about who you know, who cares about you, who thinks about you. Just look what we were doing before this class. We were singing the names of Krishna. Think how bewildering that was to Prakashananda Saraswati, who we mentioned yesterday in Benares when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing and singing in the public Krishna Nam. What does this have to do with Vedanta? See, Bhakti is a school of Vedanta, but it's Bhakti Vedanta. It's very, very different. Detachment is not an anga of Bhakti. It's not the way. It's a result. It should show up. Knowledge and detachment should show up. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayodita. Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Gyanam Jayati. The sannyas institution we're going to be, Sandipani Muni is, of course, the sannyas guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Krishna Lila. Right? Sannyas is central to the Gyan Marg, and it's in that school. It's part of the way. So there's a concentrated effort. Give up, detach, sleep less, eat less, wear less, do less. And we would say, and be less. You might know I am, but you'll never know you're a gopi or a gopi underneath all of that. If you're a Krishna Das underneath all of that won't come out from that approach. And all the trouble that you're taking to arrive at I am, it will be arrived at naturally in the course of bhakti. The very fact that the bhakti of Chaitanya Sampradaya has a place, and a big place, for the household ashram, you don't understand how staggering that is as a school of Vedanta, as a path for transcending material existence, when married life is the whole is the chains that bind us to the world, attachment. What could be stronger than attachment to your significant other? Well, maybe our children, but more than that, maybe the grandchildren, and it goes on and on, right? So this is, again, there's the problem with attachment, right? But you could be in the midst of that and not be in a disadvantageous position to pursue the ideal of praying, the praying prayogi ideal of bhakti, that I am a gopa, I am a gopi. So it's really quite staggering to think about. And that just by singing the name of Krishna, this is the be all and end all of Vedanta. You just sing your way to the spiritual world. It's so generous. This speaks about the power of bhakti. This is not, it has nothing to do with our own power, right? Jnana, yoga, everything to do with our own power. This is avaroha panta. It's a powerless, it's a powerful, but it's a descending power. We have to make effort. That's true, but we should make an effort to get grace. That's our effort. Our effort is to get grace. And how do you get grace? Then by acknowledging your weakness, your neediness, your weakness. It's an acknowledgement. It's not a very virile have, if you will. And sannyas is very virile. And the Shaivaka school is full of this. There's Mahadev meditating, dressed in ashes, and so forth. Right? So why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking sannyas is the question. But before we get there, again, Krishna made a bond, a fraternal bond with a classmate just because he had the same name as his eternal friend, Sudama. What kind of Vedanta is that? This is the loving nature of Bhagavan. That's why the learned Uddhava was sent by Krishna. He's the teacher of Krishna, the guru of Krishna, if you will, the Shastravit, the Shastric advisory board for Krishna was Uddhava, singular. And he was sent to Vrindavan ostensibly to give a message to the inhabitants there. But of course, the real reason he went was to learn about this praying. And I was kind of off the scriptural map. He wandered around after delivering his message for months, kind of collecting verses, chanting verses like this. This place is off the scriptural map. Oh, goodness. If I could take birth here, there's a blade of grass. fortunate to have that kind of intensity that I find here with love for Krishna. And he said, oh, just who in the right mind would worship anyone? Why take shelter of anyone other than Krishna? And he gave the example, who gave Vatsalya Bhakti to Putana. She tried to slay the child, kill the child, the infant, really, with her breast milk. How insidious. It's very dastardly. The contrast is extraordinary. Infant, defenseless, dependent upon breast milk, which is the tender breast, the soft embrace of the mother, the nourishing milk, and instead she puts poison on the breast. Poison. This will be a big story in the modern world. Such things found out, right? Baby killer puts breast poison on breast. Nurse in hospital kills newborns. This is Putin, and he gave him eternal motherhood. So Buddha right says, who in the right mind would take shelter of anybody else? What is his nature? What should result from really contemplating deeply this should not be that, oh, well then great, why doesn't he deliver me, and you get angry at it. I think maybe he's not like that. No, the reaction should be, oh my gosh, these are historical facts. These are written in the sacred texts. And there's hundreds and hundreds of such testimonies and so forth over the centuries that Krishna's like that. To even to people like Putin. So what to speak if I actually apply myself and try to love him in the ways that we've been taught through the Sampradaya, following the example of the previous devotees. What will be the result? When we hear Nam is so generous, we don't think, okay, well, then I don't have to chant much. It's very generous. Well, what if I actually apply myself? Then that should be the reaction. We should be a little embarrassed. Nam Nam Akari Bohuda. He just I mean, Mahaprabhu put these two things together in the second verse of Shikshastakam, right? Your name is so generous that, well, one of the ways in which there are many of them, innumerable names, Gopal, Govinda, Radhanath. We have innumerable names, and they are filled with your Swarup Shakti. Of course, he's referring to primary names like Yashodananda, Devakinanda, that are filled with praying. These names, there are many of them, they're innumerable, and they're filled with your Shakti. And there are no rules for chanting them. And anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place. Unlike mantras that required chanted at a particular time in a particular place, a particular direction, and so on and so forth. Not like that. The contrast between the first line and the second are huge. And then with a sense of a healthy sense of embarrassment, if you will, not making him neurotic, but I have no attraction. What's the reason? Well, I have other attractions. I have false anarthas, false values that I'm hanging on to. That the words of my guru shatter the false values, expose them for what they are. And let me take shelter with the holy name. So generous is bhakti. So simple is bhakti. So user-friendly is bhakti. We may think it's not like that for me. It's pretty hard. So, well, of course, you have to look at it also. It's in comparison to other paths to transcendence. We're not asking you to go out in the middle of the night, on the coldest night of the year, submerge yourself on a dark moon night up to your neck in the Ganges at Rishikesh, and think, cold, hot, it makes no difference. It's just in my mind. They do that. Right? We're not asking you to sleep on a bed of nails. Right? We're not asking you to be a brahmachari. Okay? That's pretty generous. Because yoga one of the angas of yoga, Astanga yoga. Brahmacharya is one of them. And you can give as fancy as a translation of that as you want in modern times, but it means what it means. There's no friends in yoga. There's no friends in Gyan. No. You advance by giving up, detaching, sit alone. It's described in the 6th chapter of the Gita. Sit alone, not too high, not too low. Right? Gyan Marg also. This is contemplative life. We have a contemplative life in Bhakti also. That is as you become acquainted with friends on the other side. Here we advance in Bhakti through Sangha, not through Vairagya, which is the opposite. Through attachment to Krishna, to Krishna's teachings, what's favorable to Bhakti and so forth. And this brings about, if we do this honestly and sincerely, with all our might, to attract the grace of Krishna, naturally our attachments will fall away, be exposed to what they are. And it's easy to do. Of course, it's a hard exercise, and not hard as the hydrophobic frozen. So there's some. There's nothing hard about bhakti. It's our heart is hard. It needs to soften. And detachment in itself as a way, and argumentation also hardens the heart. So it's important to understand these are not really heart bhakti. Swami says Gyan and Vairagya are not angas of bhakti. But he says in the beginning a little bit may be helpful. I've given an example before, and someone reminded me of it this morning. I think it was Subal. That if you have your car, the battery is stalled, and you push the car, and it just rolls a little bit, and then you let go of the clutch, and it starts off you go. Right? So Gyan and Vairagya, a little helpful in the beginning. Of course, you have to understand, Rupa Goswami made this statement. What was in a particular context, or in a particular culture, and so forth, right? Where it was understood by everyone that there, at least theoretically, there's an Atma. It reincarnates body after body, life after life. How many times do I hear this? Go to sleep, it's Gyan. Mahaprabhu brings something very exciting to wake everyone up. But Prabhupada coming to the United States was a different culture. So he did emphasize, you're not the body, was one of these like mantras. You're not the body. So of course we started thinking, therefore I shouldn't sleep. I shouldn't have to need to eat. And so a little bit of bhakti covered by Gyan, kind of approach unconsciously, if you will, where it was thought that oftentimes renunciation was the sign of one's advancement. I mean, it could be as a result of bhakti, but unto itself only, because you could stay up all night, fast on the Ekadasi. I remember once we were sitting in Tripurari and it was Ekadasi, and shortly at the time of the Raj Bhoga, midday, was the time of the train was leaving. So we were leaving to go back to our ashrams. And so the Puja Pachita had to sit down, it was Ekadasi, and take Ekadasi Prashadam while it was on the altar being offered, before it had to come off the altar, right? Take because he wanted us to have Prashadam before going, right? And there was one brahmachari there from another month, from Madhava Marsha's month, and he was walking in front of us. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna. I fast on Ekadasi, Hare Krishna. So you just look at that in contrast to how Sri Ramesh dealt with it. You can understand the difference between bhakti and bhakti covered by Gyan. He looks like he's the one that really knows. Right? Once my godmother, Yashodananda Maharaj, came to Sri Ramesh's mouth. This is when Prabhupada was still with us, and he was there for some reason, I forget it. And so this Arctic was taking place, and he was in the Arctic and playing the drum. And it was a Odyssey, and he was a very tall fellow, and he was playing the drum and leaping, playing the drum and leaping, and so forth. And so then after the Arctic, at the Kirtan, I should say, then a word was taken to Sri Ramakrishna on his bread that one of the Prabhupada's disciples is here, and had him come up, and they said, and he's jumping in the Kirtan, and they were astounded because it's Ekadasi, and they were fasting, and you don't typically jump around that much when you by the evening you've been fasting all day. And so he was meeting with Sri Maharaj, and Sri Maharaj said to him, and I heard you were jumping in Kirtan. He said, yes, by your grace. And so then the talk was over. He said, so you take us prashad. He said, actually, Maharaj, I'm fasting. I follow your job on the Ekadasi. He said, your job and jumping. I said, your job and jumping. So you won't take prashad. And then Yashodananda said, but if you desire, then I'll break my vow and take prashad. So after that, he used to say that Yashodananda, he understands Vaishnavism. He understands Vaishnavism. Yes. So Sudama became an eternal associate of Krishna just because he had the name of one of Krishna's eternal associates, such as Krishna. But we come from there now, from Krishna Lila to Sandipani Muni's appearance, and takes the significant role of being Sannyas Guru, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Selected a verse that's cited here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, related to the Sannyas Guru. This is a nice verse. Keshava Bharati is one of 9 other sannyasins from different schools, Puris, Tirthas, there's some last names, titles, Bharatis, so forth, who joined Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are all older than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, renounced mystics, and so forth. Brahmananda Puri Ar Keshu Bharati, Brahmananda Puri Ar Brahmananda Bharati, Vishnu Puri Keshu Puri Puri Krishnananda, Shena Shinga Tirtha Ar Puri Sukhananda, Enavamula, Nikashila Brikkamule, Enavamule Brikka Kolinanishtale. But of course, these are the names, just to hear the names is so helpful to us. Brahmananda Puri Ar Keshu Bharati, Brahmananda Puri Ar Brahmananda Bharati, Vishnu Puri, Keshu Puri, Puri Krishnananda, Srina Shinga Tirtha Ar Puri Sukhananda. These are 9 sannyasis. The verse says, E Navamul. These 9 are the mool, the roots of the vriksha, the tree, the metaphorical tree of bhakti, planted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who became the tree itself, and the branches, many devotees, and the fruits, love of God, and so forth. So these of that tree, these are the roots. So what it means to say is that these are heavy characters. Ramananda Bharati, for example, was wearing only the deer skin and so forth. There's another story about that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu objected to it. It's giving him some pride to see, I only wear deer skin. So these were very heavy characters. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was only 24, 25 years old. He was a sannyasi, and he frightened the measure of his own detachment. Mahaprabhu took up the sannyasa order as a strategy, right? As a strategy. When I first went to India, early 1971, 1972, and we came from Australia to Madras, and then took the train to Calcutta. And in Calcutta, the streets, it was just a a sea, an ocean of white dhotis. Every man, and all men mostly in the marketplace, selling and buying, were all white clad, like Ramohan, like Kishore Krishna, wearing white dhotis. There's a sea of white. No pant shirt, as Prabhupada would say. So this was what it was like at the time. Now imagine how someone in saffron color would stand out, right? This is the point of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas, to create a teachable moment without doing anything except changing the color of my dress. Of course, there's more to it than the change of dress, but because of the change of dress, or wearing a uniform, if you will, then people would, he would stand out. And of course, the implication is a person you can approach for spiritual insight, knowledge, and so on and so forth. And his character, standing out like that, his character has to be up to par, right? So it's a pressure on the sannyasin as well, right? It's harder to hide, right? The dunda means punishment. So it's not for beating other people over, that's for beating yourself over the head, right? That's what it's for. It's to punish your mind, your intelligence, your senses, in the sense that they want to be distracted and also return them towards Krishna. So this was a strategy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Accept sannyas, and then people will listen to me more readily. And so he did, but also at such a young age. So beautiful, so handsome he was, charming. And so the thought that he could maintain such a vow at such an early age and being so attractive a person was very stunning. But he did it in such a way that those old, heavy sannyasis, Keshava Puri, Sringatirtha, Sukhananda Puri, Ramananda Bharati, they were frightened by the measure of his vairagya, one of the opulences of Bhagwan, right? Aishvarya Samaha Suvirya Syaya Shashashriya Jnana Vairagya. These are 6: wealth, strength, fame, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. We see this extreme renunciation, which is arising out of his bhakti. He gave up knowledge, if you will, out of bhakti, and he was in the pursuit of knowledge, and as a result, named him my pundit. And he threw it all away. When he became initiated by Vishwapuri, right? But as a strategy then to share the bhakti that he had and to show the world that the emotions that he was experiencing were transcendent, accepted visibly the renounced order of life, that you could be renounced from the world by meditating on the love affairs of Radha and Krishna. The two kind of don't go together. You can read about the Rasa Leela and without good guidance, it doesn't seem like it would foster renunciation. It's a love story. It's a romance story. It's a romance novel, Bhagavatam, right? That's what it is. So it's not reading for sannyasi, it's for renunciation. We wanted to show, of course, that the emotions arising out of this were rooted in renunciation. So these sannyasis who joined him, they formed the roots of the tree. It means that the tree of love of God is rooted in that. The way it's rooted is that roots grow down, they come out. So evidence of one's bhakti, the roots of renunciation and knowledge start to come out. And then the tree comes up and fruits and flowers arise. So it was easy for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be renounced because he was absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. It was easy for him. And he did it to such an extent that he frightened these elder sannyasis. But one of them, at least amongst them, was very special, and that is Keshava Bharati. And this is the Shaivite Sandipani Muni in Bengali. coming at a time when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving up household life and accepting the vow of brahmacharya and entering the school of Keshava Bharati. Here, just like Krishna took a vow of brahmacharya and entered the school of Sandipani Mundashai. Sandipani Munda. Keshava Bharati was a sannyasi from Shankar Sampradaya. Most of these sannyasis were initiated in Shankar Sampradaya. Evidence from the names they were given, Bharati, Puri, these titles and so forth. Of course, at the time, there were 4 maths or monasteries established by Shankar, Adi Shankar. One of them is the Govardhan Math at Jagannath Puri. The Smarta Brahmins from the religious sector of the Advaitin Sampradaya, separating the religious sector from the renunciates, the mystics, the sannyasis. They do all the puja at the Jagannath temple. See how merciful Jagannath is. You won't let certain people worship the deity because they're not pure enough in Jagannath, except you worship from the Maya bodies. So that moth is the one moth amongst the 4 where bhakti is emphasized as a way, right? Make it easier to pursue the universal program, something like that. But that is there's a lot of evidence. There's 9 examples, practically speaking, who arguably came from that school. So a little touch of bhakti can go a long way. The famous Sridhar Swami, commentator on Bhagavatam in ancient times, is recorded as being a leader of the math, Govardhan Math in Shankar during a certain time period. Obviously, given the currents of the time, philosophically and so on and so forth, he was converted. His Bhagavatam commentary is not an Advaitin commentary. Very much revered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his disciples and so forth. So these Keshava Bharati in particular, it's emphasized that he was initiated from coming from the Advaitin school, like Sandipani Muni, Shaivite, sorts. She was more a favorite in the Advaitin school than Krishna for the most part. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he couldn't take a sannyas from anybody. But there in Navadvip he said, I never go to Katwa and I'll take sannyas from Keshava Bharati. He knew who he was. Wanted to meet him again in a new leader. Nityananda Prabhu, of course, took exception. He tried to stop him from going. Nityananda Prabhu tried to stop him from taking sannyas, but he couldn't check him. After he took sannyas, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went in search of Vrindavan, Nityananda Prabhu came, tricked him, brought him back to Shantipur, brought his mother there, all of his friends, and everybody. Just saying, sure you want to take sannyas? Here we are. How can you leave us? Mahaprabhu agreed. I'm crazy. Put himself in the hands of his mother, and his mother had to make the wise decision. The mother knows best. So, reason he's willing to give up sannyas now, thinking he did it in madness, but if he does that, religious people will criticize him. I cannot bear that. But I cannot bear his separation either, with neither all of his friends. So can't go to Vrindavan, let him go to Puri. Because Puri is like another room in the same house that Navadvip is a room in. And there's commerce between Navadvip and Puri. People are going to Jagannath Puri for the festival, Rath Yatra, coming back, and there's always news and so forth and so on. So this way we'll stay in some connection with him. We'll always hear about him and so forth. This is a wise decision. And then, of course, he left. He went on the way to Puri, and Nityananda Prabhu took his dunda and broke it and threw it in the river. This is 3 times I'm mentioning. Nityananda Prabhu was resisting the sannyas of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. God brother of mine, in Guru Kripa Maharaj, he had a small Varnatai deities, And he used to raise a lot of money, send it to Prabhupada. In the days that Prabhupada was building the Ramada temple and Krishna Balaram temple and so forth. And he would lavishly decorate these little Varnataya deities there, about the size of the little Krishna Balaram there, right inside the altar, lower shelf. Krishna Balaram. And so one day, I had a darshan of his deities, and they were dressed like sannyasis and had platinum dandas. So Prabhupada was there, and I talked to Prabhupada, and I said, Prabhupada, you could dress this. Because Prabhupada had told me, I asked Prabhupada, I said, I don't get the chance to worship the deity because I'm traveling all the time. Whenever I come to a temple, they have the schedule, and visitors don't exactly fit in, do the puja and so forth. So I wondered if I could have the Varnataya deities that Prabhupada Baptist, keep them in a box and worship in the morning, and then put them to sleep, and then next day wake them up and worship them, go out and preach and so forth. So I had my deities, and I had saw his deity. It wasn't very common in those days for anybody to have deities. The deities were in the temples, that's all. These were a couple of exceptions. And so I asked Prabhupada about it. I said, we could dress as deities like sannyasis with done this. I've never seen that before. Prabhupada said, oh, the devotees of Chaitanya, they don't like to think of them as a sannyasi. So he went into this Navadvip Bhav. So very powerful. So therefore, they given a good focused on that. So this is a very important point. It underscores, of course, the fact that the sannyasa of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a strategy. After all, he's Bhagavan. It's a strategy. And of course, it's very, at the same time, it's dear to us in the beginning because through the sannyas, he gave himself to us. In the sannyas, all his teachings come out. Teaches to Rupa and Sanatana, the conversion of Sarvabhauma, Venkatavata Prakashananda, Saraswati. And so it's all the Madhya Lila, which is the center of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So these sannyas pastimes are, there he is as the charya, showing the example, right? But what he's teaching us is how to enter into Vrindavan, which is Navadvip, and the internal Navadvip, where he'll be worshipped as a household, where he can get close to it. Because what's the problem with sannyas? This is the problem. It's about 6 to 8 inches. Got to sit up here, separate from everybody. Everybody goes, ooh, when he comes. Look at him. Start looking for something on the floor. I don't know what they're looking for. So that it creates some distance, right? That was, of course, necessary for teaching, but the teaching is meant to bring us together, right? It does away with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas. It brings us into the courtyard of Srivastava Court, right? For kirtan, eternal kirtan. But, as I said, sannyas is very important. So he went to Katwa. There he met Sandipani Muni in the form of Keshava Bharati. And famously, of course, he asked Bharati Maharaj, is this the mantra that you will give me? And he uttered the sannyas mantra that is central to the Advaita path, and understood in a particular way. Tattvam-asi, tattvam, asi, tattvam. You that same. You that same. Whatever, okay. You are that. No, that is that, and I'm not. So how does it make? Doesn't make a lot of sense. You are that. They take this as that you are Brahman. Jiva and the Brahman are one. Jiva is an illusion. There's only Brahman. This is their idea. So Mahaprabhu asked him, is this the mantra that you will give me? Tattvam-asi. But Mahaprabhu had a different understanding of the mantra, which is arguably better understanding from a grammatical point of view, or speaking from a theological, philosophical point of view. And then just from a practical point of view, you are his. Does that make more sense than you are that? You are that? You are his. You are one with him then, right? Kishore and I are one. I could say. Agni and Dave and I are one. We're on the same page, same paragraph, same parenthetic phrase, right? Each of us is worded in there at the same time. So very, if you want to take non-duality and decorate it, that's bhakti. Take the non-duality and ornament, beautify it, decorate it. You and I become we. There's only one. It's we. The unit. Dynamic sense of unity. So when he asked Keshav Bharati, is this the mantra you're going to give me? Or is the conception behind it? He imparted Keshav Bharati who had an epiphany. He said, I'm a Sandipani Muni. I am not just that. I'm not this or that. I am Sandipani Muni. I am an eternal associate of I am Krishna Das, basically. So that is. So he got the Vaishnava understanding of the mantra, and then he gave it back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then without the Puri, he went, of course, and as I say, some of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come to us. So then we stop. Any questions? Yes.
At the time of his sannyas initiation, was he given a different name?
Yes, he was given a name. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, big name. He was Nimai Pandit, he was Vishwambara Mishra. These names don't have any Aishvarya to them. Vishwambara is an Aishvarya name, but in the context, it's not an Aishvarya. It's his family name, right? And Nimai Pandit, nickname, describing his quality. But Shri Krishna Chaitanya, that's a big sannyasi name.
When he took initiation from Ishwapuri, did he change his name?
There's no
Did
mention
he
of
get a
that.
new name?
There's no mention. He was still known as well. It's not recorded anywhere that he was known by a different name. Again, the essence of initiation is a part of the mantra. Other things could be there as well, like changing the name and so forth. Of course, it may be more relevant when your name is Bob or Fred or Mary. So, or common names in India also. There's the virtues of naming your son after Vishnu are many. When that's a long story, so if one already has such a name, then often you probably would keep it. Yes.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had an epiphany of Vishnu's footprint. It seems like kind of a turning point in the Leela. I was wondering if anyone's written about the significance of it being Vishnu's footprint that kind of was a
No,
catalyst.
it's not written like that. It's more the time.
Mhm.
The time had come, and before Puri was there. The sannyas guru could be quite a significant figure in one's life. Prabhupada took sannyas from Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, who's the guru of Bhakti Narayan Maharaj. They met, did some campaigning around the world. And I think Prabhupada was in Seattle when he got news that Keshav Maharaj had passed away. Prabhupada wept. And he took a verse, I think spontaneously, he took a verse from Raghunath Das Goswami, Vairagi Bhakti. Raga Bhakti is a verse of Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami glorifying Sanatana Goswami. It says, this is Sanatana Goswami who dragged me away from the house of life, put me into the fold and so forth. So he used that verse and then changed the line to a honoring Keshav Maharaj. Prabhupada was a member of Keshav Maharaj's mission at some point. He was the editor of this magazine. And Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti was the name of the mission of Keshav Maharaj. This was some years, of course, after the passing of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Sridhar Maharaj, Pujabhat Sridhar Maharaj told me that Prabhupada had come to him asking for sannyas. He came to me, asked for sannyas, but I was so close with him because I had lived. He had 2 apartments. One of them he gave to me, and the other one he raised his family in Calcutta. And I knew his family intimately. So when he came to me here, asked for sannyas, I was afraid that his wife and his sons would come here and cause havoc. We've taken our father. What kind of gratitude is that after he gave you a place to live for years and so forth? So I was a little concerned, and of course it seemed rather abrupt, he said too. So I thought, maybe the household life's not going so well, so that shouldn't be the motive. He said, so I hesitated. I said, let me think about that. This is kind of the nature of Sri Maharaj. But then he just went and took from Keshav Maharaj. I'm so proud of him. From Keshav Maharaj. Our Dave was on the Swami Prabhupada. Oh, Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai.